For centuries, people have been living and working along the River Thames, and they dropped many different artifacts into the river. Some of the things that are more interesting are tools. So they dropped caulking tools, ropes, hammers, hooks, boat hooks, and all of these things reveal who was working and living along the Thames for those bygone centuries. The presentation today was all about the working river. It was revealing the people that lived and worked along the river through the artifacts that we have found on the River Thames. And normally I talk about mudlarking, but tonight was more about just telling people about the diverse types of trades that were along the Thames, from shipbuilding to shipbreaking to whaling industries along the Thames, and then also talking about the people that were involved with these trades, like the Thames watermen and lightermen, the stevedores, the dock workers, the shipbuilders, the shipbreakers. All of them, they make for a very vibrant tapestry of London's history.
My name's Monika Smith. I'm a mudlark on the River Thames. I've been going down the river for about 8 years now, and I've always, since I was a little kid, if I saw an interesting stone or a little bug or I don't know, a pretty flower, I was always picking things up and taking them home. So I think I've got that kind of collecting bug in me. Tonight was a very special evening coming here to Temple Place. It's absolutely beautiful. I was very lucky to be asked by Jason to come along. He knows I collect quite a few of the big river items, and we were doing a special night about the working river. So I was able to bring along some of my padlocks, some of my barge hooks. I've got the most beautiful timber of Tudor ship that you know is Tudor because it's made of oak, and anything after about 1700s tended to be made of other woods because England had used up most of their oak for the shipping business. So this being an oak timber, you know that it's sailed the seven seas. It's one of the traditional ships, very similar to the Santa Maria there, sailed on by Christopher Columbus, who's up there.
You found all of these nice, interesting artifacts, and it takes a long time to discover what they are. So a lot of times I spend around 10 hours just doing research about the different things, just to identify them and uncover the backstory. And I love just kind of sharing that knowledge with other people. And that's what it's all about, not kind of hoarding things for myself and having a large collection. It's more about sharing that history and making it accessible to the public. And that's why we're putting on these exhibitions throughout the month of September, is to bring the collections to the people.
And you find little bits and you think they're quite interesting, and then you find something a bit better, and then you find something that's really good and you think, actually I need to show that to a museum because that's really good. And the thing for me that was really good, that really excited me, was a shoe that turns out to be a Jacobean shoe. So that's about 1625. And when we found it, it had like little hearts and moons in the heel, and it was just so beautiful. You just looked at it and you could tell that it was, a few hundred years old. It was really special. That shoe has since been to the Shoe Museum at the University of Nottingham and been identified. So one of the lovely things is when you find something, you have that whole adventure of how you research it and how you get the story behind the find.
One of my favorite artifacts is a Roman bone hairpin, and it shows the bust of a woman at the top of it. And when women used to secure their hair in buns or in braids, they used to pin it in place using one of these hairpins. And when I discovered it, I took it to the Museum of London, and they dated it to be between 43 and 100 AD. So that's nearly 2,000 years ago that woman would have worn that hairpin. And I was the first person to touch that in 2000. 2,000 years. And I still get goosebumps to this day knowing that I was the first person to see that after such a long period of time. And I can just imagine the governess, so the wife of the governor, just strolling along the Thames, enjoying the setting sun, and then a gust of wind potentially dislodged the hairpin in her hair and sent it hurtling into the Thames. So yes, my imagination runs wild when I find some of these artifacts, just trying to think how this was lost in the river. So that I did donate to the Museum of London, and that is on permanent display in their Roman gallery.
It takes a lot of work. First of all, you have to get all the mud off it, clean it thoroughly. Then you have to soak it in water for several months, and you keep changing the water to get all the salts out. I had a docker's clog, which was quite fun, with a wooden sole that I found totally flat, and I managed to restore that and bring it back to shape. You have to pack it so that it starts to gradually rebuild its shape, because it has the memory of how it's been for 300 or 200 years, which was flat. So the weight of the mud on it has squashed it totally flat. So you have to gradually try and bring it back to its original shape. So that's done packing, and I was using all sorts of little pots and bits of plastic and wrapping it around with tape to try and hold it in that shape.
A lot of these artifacts are very small, and they're also camouflaged against the kind of dark terrain of the riverbed. So they're very difficult to spot unless you're actually on your hands and knees, like pretty much nose up against the ground looking for these artifacts. And I spend typically around 4 hours per session. And then afterwards, you tend to meet friends along the way. We catch up for a coffee or go for lunch afterwards, and then share each other's finds or show each other the different things that we find and share the history of these different things with each other. So it's a great community, and it's a great way to meet people as well as discover London's history.